He'd had
Yeah.
multiple attempts in the past at getting healthy, but nothing quite have seemed to stick. And we just went at it like as I would with any typical client. And we just kept finding like each week the weight was coming down. Each week he was continuing to improve. And all of a sudden, X amount of months later, he's 55 kilos down. He's in the shape of his life. He's looking phenomenal.
Welcome to The Search for Wellness, a podcast dedicated to discovering the path to a healthier, more fulfilling life. Join us on this heartfelt journey as we share inspiring stories, insightful conversations, and practical tips to nurture your mind, body, and spirit. Hi, Elliot.
Hello, Pooja. How are you?
Good. Welcome to The Search for Wellness. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Elliot Hasoon. I'm an online health and fitness coach. I've been doing this now for 11, 12 years. I started off as a personal trainer in person, mainly working in Oxford and London, transitioned to online, and now I work with clients all over the world. I'm super avid about health and fitness myself and personal development as well. And I'm married, I'm happy in life, and I'm just happy with the way that everything's going right now, honestly.
Well, welcome to Kenya, first of
Thank
all.
you.
And what brings you to this part of the world?
Well, it's funny, I feel like Nairobi has always been subtly whispering to me to eventually come here. I've had a few different clients from here over the course of the years, and I just found that there's a certain mindset where when I sign up someone from Nairobi, they are super dedicated to their health and fitness. They're in need of a change and they desire a change. And then when they start, they really genuinely commit to it. And funnily enough, I was speaking to my wife maybe like a year and a half ago, and I genuinely don't remember this conversation. But she was like, I said to her, I've got a couple of clients from Nairobi and I really like them. Like they work hard, they're doing really well with their results, they're really good people. And I don't have a clue that I had that conversation. And then fast forward to today, we're working with a significant amount more people here. So I was like, okay, I go over and see my guys in the UK and London quite a lot. So why not do the same over here? So this is my first time coming over, seeing the clients this week, holding a bunch of events for them as well. And I thought it was also a beautiful opportunity to see Kenya and Africa. It's a continent that we've barely spent any time in at all. So this is a beautiful place to start the journey, essentially.
And how do clients, like the ones in Nairobi and stuff, how do they find you? Where do they find you?
Usually they are via someone who has been working with me before. So you know what it's like when you go up to a social and someone's looking a little bit trimmer or leaner, or they've got a certain glow or energy about them, and like, what are you doing, right? Everyone wants to know the secret. Like you said, we're all on a search for wellness, fitness, health, right? So usually it come off the back of referrals. It's like one person is doing amazing on their journey, and then someone's like, I want a little bit more of that. And the beautiful thing of it being online is that, it crosses borders, it crosses continents. So I can be wherever I am in the world and work with someone here. The beautiful thing about Nairobi is that because I've got so many guys who I'm working with here, is that I've begun to understand the lifestyle a little bit more. Like I understand what you have available in your supermarkets and what you don't. I understand what goes on in socials and what doesn't. And I'm getting an even bigger lesson now that I'm here, which is amazing. We went around the supermarkets today, so it was great for me to do that. But what I've tried to do is not say, okay, like in the UK, we're super blessed and lucky with all the things that we have. We have this in the supermarket, this in the supermarket, and it's so easy to find everything. So my goal has been to say, okay, I'm not going to give you a specific UK or US diet. I'm going to say, okay, what do you guys have in your supermarkets? And let me build this around you, your lifestyle, your day to day. And I think that's what's really worked well, is I've tried to understand the guys here. So when they come on board, they're like, oh, wow, Elliot knows more about our lifestyle than we anticipated. And then they ultimately get better results off the back of that.
And would you say that your program, is it fitness, and how much of it is the fitness part of it and how much of it is the nutrition part of it?
I'd say it's like 100% of both, right? Yeah. Like I try to do everything in the way of covering all components, right? I feel that health and fitness for me isn't just the food that we eat and the exercise that we do. It's so much beyond that as well. So I cover my clients' nutrition, their training, their cardio, their general activity, their stress, their sleep, their hydration, and then obviously their social lives and their personal lives as well. Like what is beautiful is that I've gone through my own different challenges along my own journey. So if someone says to me, I'm struggling mentally, I'm not someone who's going to be like, oh, I don't know what to do with this. Like, don't talk to me about your problems. It's like, okay, let's open the door here. I stay within my lane. I know what I am. I know I'm not a psychologist or a therapist, but I'm like, okay, if I can see certain patterns here that I know are not serving you, I'm just going to identify them to you, and we're going to go back and forth and see if we can help. So I try to cover just about everything, and I would make a big focus on their nutrition and their training, and then all the other components that I can include in that spectrum.
So talking about that, what made you become a health and fitness coach?
Yeah, it's a good question. So my journey began because I wasn't that in shape as a child. I wasn't one of these fortunately blessed kids who had abs from the start. Quite the opposite. And funnily enough, like I grew up like any other child, you know, I had parents who were trying to keep me healthy, didn't have the most expanded knowledge about nutrition. They had an idea of healthy foods, but quantities, serving sizes, protein, all those different types of things, they weren't super aware of it. And I don't hold anything against them for it either. So I just grew up like a normal kid, but my genetics weren't so favorable in the sense that I wasn't able to have like a thin waistline, or I was a little bit overweight. I wasn't, this was the thing, I was on this awkward in between phase where I wasn't super overweight to the point where people would call me the fat kid or anything like that, but nor was I in shape. So I was just like, you know, a chubby child is what I like to call myself, or like to call myself in the past. And I was just a little bit uncomfortable with it. Like I had these names in the PE changing rooms and everything like that. And I was just like, okay, well, I give credits in my 15-year-old self many times because I just thought to myself, like, well, what can you do about this? So I was like, okay, Google exists. Let me ask the question. And my goals were very, what's the word? They were very small at that point. So I was like, okay, how do I get a physique like Zac Efron? Or how do I get a physique like David Beckham? So I just literally wrote David Beckham diet. And I was like, okay, he eats this, he eats this. And at the time, you know, my parents were still cooking for me because I was still a teenage boy. I was probably even 14 years of age potentially. So I just went into my fridge and freezer. I was like, what kind of mimics this? And I was like, okay, I'm going to start eating a bit more of this, bit more of this. I was like, okay, let me look at their training plan as well. And then I got some like 1, 2, 3 kilo dumbbells, and I just started doing some workouts. And before that, I would do like tricep dips on my bathtub, like bicep curls with shampoo bottles and everything like that. So it was really humble beginnings in that sense. And I started to see the changes, and that was like mind blowing to me. And I was like, wow, like, and then also I came back from like a summer holiday, like the summer school holidays, and people were noticing as well. I was like, this is a great feeling. So I leaned into it because I was thinking that this is a really rewarding journey. I say it today as well, is that what you put into your health and fitness, I feel it's a very fair return on your investment. There's a lot of things you put energy and time into, and effort as well, and you don't get quite as much as you feel that you deserve. Whereas if you're with the health and fitness journey, you get as much as you put in. And I felt that from the start, and I was like, okay, this is amazing. And it just kept snowballing from there. And I was like, okay, if I've worked this out so early in my life, I'm super grateful to have done this. How about let me help people who have not quite figured this out themselves yet, especially those who have been struggling for decades. It's like, I don't think it's a challenge that we need to have in our lives. I think it's just a certain part, like a certain thing that we need to find a solution for ourselves. And then once we do that, like health and fitness can just run as a background program in our mind, and then we can focus on the other things that we want to enjoy in life.
And you know, this is the thing, this is the fundamental of, if you are going to put somebody on a diet, how long are they going to stay on that diet for? It's not going to last, right? It has to be a lifestyle change. And this is what I always tell people, even when they come to my studio, is they'll come to me and go, oh, but will I lose weight? And will I lose inches off my waist and stuff? I'm like, look, I'm doing literally 10% of your day, maybe not even that, maybe less of your day, because you're coming to me for 1 hour.
Yeah.
What you're doing for the rest of the day is what also counts towards your fitness
counts
journey.
more than anything,
And
right?
what
Yeah.
counts more than anything, exactly. And if you are not putting in the work after the class or the workout, then I cannot help you. But this is where someone like you comes in, because you are giving somebody not only the idea of what they should be doing physically, but what they should be doing for the rest of the 23 hours that they're not working out.
Exactly. That's where I found personal training quite limiting in the end. I was like, okay, like I'm showing up, giving the best that I can in these sessions, and so are my clients as well.
Yeah.
But I found that they weren't quite getting these results, and I was like, what's going on here? Like, what's? And then obviously I just worked out exactly what you said. It's like, okay, well, the other 23 hours, they count way more than the session. And the session, not to take anything away from it, there's a lot that can be done, and also that can set the tone for the rest of the day as well, which is fantastic. But I found it to be like, well, you know, think about a gym floor as well. It's not the type of place you can have a vulnerable conversation with your client. The nutrition is a large part of the journey. And how are we going to speak about that in between sets of their exercises and stuff like that? Yes, I can send them some emails outside of the sessions, but it's not even what a personal trainer really does. They just kind of focus on your fitness and your training more so than anything. And that's what I loved about online. I was skeptical first when I went online. I was like, first, am I going to get the like actual decent results to these clients? And the second is, am I going to build relationships with these people? Because I was like, I'm never going to meet them. Like, I was kind of like, is it really going to work? But then I was like, okay, well, it seems like the medium of email and having the time and to be able to talk to them on the phone is much more vulnerable, and they're able to be much more open about their challenges and their difficulties. And also because they're not limited by only seeing me for 1 hour a week and they can WhatsApp me or email at any moment, they were able to share the challenges that they had, which ended up being incredibly impactful because of they almost had like a 24-hour coach with them, and we're able to, again, I'm not with them 24/7, and that's why they have to learn how to do these things on their own, but they do have the support outside just that one personal training session.
I think this is the thing, is that that's the other part, is that you're holding somebody accountable for the whole day, which is absolutely amazing. Like I wish I could do that for all my clients, but I can't do that for all my clients. But I find that that's so special that you can do that. And a lot of people have a very difficult relationship with food.
Yes.
It's like I was telling you earlier before we started recording, is it's easier to do the physical,
Yes.
but when it comes to doing the full, they have like almost like an emotional relationship with certain types of food.
Definitely.
How do you deal with like a client who maybe has like I know many of them who do, but yeah,
Yeah.
how do you deal with someone like that?
I think it's taking it on an individual basis because of everyone has different challenges that they go through with their nutrition. And I think that that's what people are quite unpleasantly surprised by in a way. And they think, okay, I'm going to sign up with this fitness coach. I'm going to get a nutrition plan. I'm going to get a training plan and everything's going to be solved. And then you're like, well, actually, this, like, not even scratching the surface, just opening a can of worms, right? Because of now when you can't lean on your favorite food on a Friday night after a tough week at work, what do? You're now faced with those challenges that you actually have to come up against. Or if you find yourself binging on X, Y, or Z, or you can't find yourself with any control or boundaries around certain things like alcohol and stuff, it's like if you can't now lean on that vice, then you are going to have to think about how you face that. And many people don't want to face that, hence why they haven't faced it. Like, first, there might be the lack of awareness. They might not even know that's going on. That tends to be the case with a lot of my clients. Some of them are a little bit more self-aware and they're like, I know I emotionally eat, or I know I rely on alcohol. And then it's a case of saying, well, are you willing to face that at the same time? And again, like I said, I stay in my lane, so I try to guide them in the best way, in the sense of saying, okay, we need to just recognize this and also accept that, emotional eating isn't an issue. Like, everyone emotionally eats, but how often are you doing this? How like impactful is it, in the sense of, are you consuming calories on end and on end and on end, and are you feeling terrible off the back of that, and it's impacting your journey thereafter because you're feeling lack of confidence, you're feeling a little bit ashamed, etc. So I think the biggest thing that I can do is just show them what they're doing, like bringing the awareness to the situation, because I feel like sometimes when we bring the awareness to the situation, it's so much easier to face it and to deal with it. And then it's just using different tactics and techniques that I've learned over the years and I found that works with a lot of clients as well, and just seeing what we can do, starting with, okay, if we lean on alcohol on a Friday night, like maybe we can ask the question, like, why are we doing this? It's like, okay, well, my job is super stressful. Okay, then what can we do about the way that you manage stress? Well, I don't actually have any other forms of outlets for my stress. Okay, maybe we can start by creating a few more outlets for your stress, and then seeing if you need to rely on that bottle so much. Something I do in the initial stages of my clients as well, especially on the alcohol front, is like, try 2 weeks without. Not because of the physical benefits, but just to see how you do with taking that vice away for a couple of weeks, especially if they're relying on it, because some people have gone since their teenagers without ever having a break from alcohol. So by taking it away, you're just able to see, I was like, oh, wow, actually, like the bottle is the one that's choosing me. I'm not choosing the bottle anymore. It's just habitual. So if we can break a little bit of that cycle, then it makes it much easier to be more conscious about selection when we go back into bringing alcohol back in, if they want to do that. Some people are like, actually, I don't really need it that much anymore. I just needed to get out of the habit. So I think a lot of it is about the awareness, and then trying to find certain strategies, and then trial and error, and then being patient in the process, because it's not going to work first time, probably not, but just go trying again, trying again, trying again, and then not getting disheartened, but taking the learnings away from that. So we're not repeating the same mistake twice, but we're just trying different forms, and we're learning each time that we go through these situations.
And you stepped a little bit into stress, and you stepped a little bit into sleep. How do stress and sleep affect the same thing?
They're probably one of the most important things. Yeah, like I think that sleep is. I heard a quote once, and it said, if we were able to capture the benefits of sleep and put it in a bottle, it would be the most expensive and sought after supplement in the entire world.
So true.
Yeah, exactly. So if I tell someone, okay, you can have a ton more energy, you can have your fat loss process is going to be so much smoother. You're going to have less cravings. You're going to be more satiated. You're going to be in a position where you can show up 110% to your life, your workouts, and everything along those lines. And I'm like, would you want the solution to that? They're like, yeah, let me take it. Let me take it. I'm like, okay, just sleep a little bit longer and sleep with better quality. I'm like, no, I won't do that. Right? Like that's the challenge, is that we underestimate it so much, but it's the truth. Like, I find things so much easier when we do end up doing that. And the thing is, I think sleep is such a big one as well, because of what I find is when we miss out on sleep, especially quality sleep, is that the small challenges become medium-sized challenges. The medium-sized challenges become bigger challenges, and the bigger challenges become enormous challenges because our resilience and our threshold to navigate these things becomes so much more difficult because we're already fighting with one arm behind our back. So I think that sleep is huge. It's something that I encourage my clients to work on massively. I had a client who messaged me this morning. She was like, I've not had 6 to 7 hours of uninterrupted sleep in my almost my entire adult life for the last decade, and I got my first week of it last week, and she's like, and I feel amazing for it. And I was like, yeah, like this is you're gonna feel like a whole new person, right? And then obviously you'll find that you can, if you've got those mini stress, again, if we sleep better, if we do the reverse equation, those small stresses don't really become stresses anymore. The medium becomes small and the large become medium. And then all of a sudden, your stress management is much better because you don't have so many stresses and you're much more resilient to navigate them. So for me, it's a massive part of the equation and very underestimated, which is why I love the online format because I can see that in a person as well. It's one of the questions I always ask people in the initial consultation, especially if they seem to be doing everything right. Then I'm like, okay, do you have like how are you getting on with your sleep? And it's usually like, no, my sleep's pretty terrible. I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. You're doing all the right things, but your sleep's not in a good place. So that's going to have a knock-on effect in other places. So it's huge. It's
It's
massive.
huge, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I totally believe that sleep is, for me, it is essential.
Foundational.
It's
Yeah.
foundational for everybody. I mean, you see little children, they thrive when they've had a good night's sleep. You know,
Yeah.
you see babies, you see all of everybody, even animals, right?
We are the only animals that proactively keep ourselves awake. And
Yeah.
that's something that blows my mind every time as well. It's like, okay, if every single living organism doesn't neglect their sleep, what makes us think that we should do that, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, we just think that we're some sort of special being, right?
Yeah,
That we're not part of nature anymore.
exactly.
Because I honestly feel like sleep is a domino effect. You sleep, if your sleep is terrible, you're going to wake up in the morning. The first thing you're going to do is reach out for the caffeine, and then you're going to have maybe an extra cup of coffee to keep you awake.
Yeah.
And then you're going to reach out for the alcohol later on because the stress is a little bit too much. And then by the evening, you're going to be like, oh, awake again in bed going, oh my God, I can't sleep. Oh, I wonder why, because you had too much caffeine,
Yes.
too much alcohol. So it just becomes
It's a
literally
vicious cycle.
a
Yeah.
vicious cycle that it's so difficult to get out. What do you recommend to people? So like now, if let's say I was somebody
Yeah.
who had a heart, because I think that's one of the keys, like you said, it's literally the foundation. It's where
Yeah.
you have to start. What would you tell somebody like that? Like, you know, like now if I came to you and I said, okay, you know what, Elliot, I have the worst sleep. And like you said, this client of yours,
Yeah.
what did you do with her? Like,
Yeah. So for me, it's low-hanging fruits first. Like I want people to do the least that they have to get the maximum benefit, right? So I go down the route of improving people's quality first because if I ask someone to sleep longer, they're usually like, well, okay, it's not really going to make sense because of, my kids go to bed at this time. I want a little bit of time to chill with my partner, and then I maybe want to watch Netflix, whatever it might be, right? They want some wind down time in the evening, and then kind of their morning time is fixed. They've got to get up at a certain time, and if anything, they want more hours in the day, so they're not going to sleep later. So I start with quality, and I think that that's always the place to go for me to begin with. And I'm like, okay, let's do some simple things to begin with. So I look at things like the temperature in someone's room. It's like not something they have to dramatically change, but can we sleep in a slightly cooler room? Can we sleep in a slightly darker room as well? Like, do you have like the light coming through, the majority of the night? Like, especially for the guys who live like deep in the cities as well, where the lights never turn off. It's like, okay, let's try and get some like blackout blinds, or even if we're not going that far, just a really good quality sleep mask so you can sleep in a darker environment. So I have a little specific sleep guide that I give to my clients. I'm like, just pick out the 2 or 3 easiest ones that you could implement as of today and go and do that, and even if it's a case of saying, okay, when's your last coffee of the day? Oh, I like to have my 4 p.m. pick me up. I'm like, okay, can we change that to decaf at least? If you don't want to take out the coffee, I'm like, some people, I'm like, okay, I'd prefer a
yeah.
caffeine curfew of like 1, 2 p.m. at the very maximum. But I was like, can we lean on decaf instead? And eventually they're like, oh, I didn't like the flavor of the decaf, so I'm just going to get rid of it anyway. And they just stick to it earlier in the morning. So quality is a big one for me because I think that 6 hours of quality sleep is significantly better than 6 hours of bad quality sleep, even if we can't improve the quantity. And then I'll also say to people, like, don't underestimate the power of 15 minutes. Like, if you can get to bed, like, let's work on your schedule as well as have a bit of a reversed alarm. So if you want to get to bed at 10 p.m., and you've got to wind down for like 45 minutes. That means from 9:15, everything that you need to do in the evening needs to be done. So at 9:15, we need to start winding down, getting you into a good state to sleep. And if we get 15 minutes extra every single day per week, it's almost 2 hours across the week. That will make a difference at some point. So it's just about not underestimating the small things. And then eventually, when they start to see the benefits of those, more positive habits come on top of those as well. And I'm like, okay, technology, like, I'm not going to tell you to get rid of your phone, but can
Yeah.
you stop using it up until the point where you're lying in bed with your partner, still texting people? Like, can you just put it down 20 minutes before? And then that seems to be doable. Once it's done once, it's like, oh, okay, well, then I can just put it, I don't even need to put it like into my room, or I just need to set my alarm and just put it over there. So that's my approach when it comes to sleep. It's just like start very, very basic, let them feel the benefits of it, and then just try to explore into even more, and then staying on top of it as well, because it's easy to do those things for a couple of weeks, but then it's like, I slip back into the bad habits. So it's like, okay, like usually there comes a time where the client will check in and they'll be like, I had a bad week. I just had more cravings. I was like, how was the sleep? And like, actually, it was a little bit rough. Like I had a late night on Saturday and didn't quite catch up on my sleep. I was like, okay, let's just go back to what you were doing when things were working really well. I'm like, okay, that makes sense now. So I think it's just a case of making sure we stay on top of that as well, because it's one of those things that needs constant care and attention and consistency more so than anything.
Yeah, just a reminder, right, of
Yeah.
reminding people. But this is why I can see you're wearing a Whoop, I'm wearing a Whoop, is it tracks my sleep. I love the fact that it tracks my sleep, it tracks my HRV,
Yes.
and just, my recovery. And I just know that if I've slept well, I'm going to
Yep.
do better today. And I love it. I absolutely
Yeah,
love
it
it.
helps you keep accountable. Like since I've started, like my Whoop didn't work initially, so I've started using it again. And now since I've started seeing my sleep score, like I look at, I'm like, like a little bit disappointed when I don't see it in the green zone anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, I could be doing better here. I don't think I got any greens today, so I'm like, okay, I'm motivated to try and sleep a little bit better tonight. So it's nice, even just small things like that. Like I have a
Yeah.
little bit of extra like gamification of it, and I think it goes a long way. But yeah, it's great to have these things. And I was talking to one of my clients earlier, and yeah, I feel like Whoop is continuing to push, 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 and push, and they're getting to a stage where they're just bringing health to people's awareness in many different ways, which is great.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love Whoop. My husband wears an Aura ring. He prefers that. I
Okay.
actually bought him a Whoop and he was like, no. So he sticks to that.
That's
He likes
interesting.
that. So whatever works for,
Exactly. That's the
yeah,
most important thing at the end of the day. As long as it
yeah,
works for him and it serves him well, then yeah, that's the most important.
exactly. We stepped a little bit into the food side of it, but I
Yes.
want to speak a little bit more about food because we know that, food, what you put at the end of your fork is either going to help you and heal you, or it's going to harm you in the long run,
Yeah.
even in the short run. So what kind of, like, if you like, what kind of diet do you specifically, I know you can't share too much because it's like your trade secret probably, but like just a little bit about what really goes into the specifics of nutrition and diet.
Yeah, 100%. So I need to understand my client's goals first. So I need to establish where they're currently. What I'm big on to go very, very back to basics is understanding what they're currently doing, because there's a lot in that that can be easily tweaked and changed. But
Okay.
I like to understand what they're currently doing, because of what I don't like to do too much is like tip my clients' lives upside down and be like, okay, now you're eating this many times a day and you eat at this time, this time, this time, this time. Like for me, it's about just saying, okay, you like to intermittent fast, okay? Like I'm not personally the biggest fan of that, but if you are, let's go down that route, and that's amazing, and I'm happy to stick with that as long as you're eating like better foods for you and they're more aligned with your goals, and that sticks within the criteria that we set for you. Then perfect, let's go down that route. And then with other people, it's like, okay, I eat 3 meals a day, or I'm open to eating 3 meals a day. I'm like, perfect, okay, let's do that and some snacks. I'm big on getting protein into people's diets. I find that so many people are, I think like protein can kind of be overdone and it can be underdone. There's people who are like, okay, you need 300 grams a day or whatever it might be. I don't know how anyone even consumes that in 3 days, let alone one day. And then there's other people who are like, protein's not important. And I'm somewhere in the middle. I was like, okay, protein is important, especially if you are someone who's not consuming it. But if I recognize that I've got a 60-year-old lady on board who I find that, again, it's a little bit easier with my men to give them like the meat and stuff than the protein to eat. But I find that females are a little bit more, they find it a little bit more difficult to have like a ton of protein on their plates, right? So if I have a woman who's been vegetarian or vegan all of her life, she barely gets 25 grams of protein a day. If I look at her body weight and it suggests that, okay, like typically we're saying, okay, 1 pound per gram of body weight is 1 gram per pound of body weight is a wise idea for most people. If I put her, who's potentially overweight as well, on 150 grams of protein, there's no chance of her eating it. It's just not going to happen. It's going to be impossible. So I'm like, okay, if she's on 30 grams, if I increase that to 50 to 55, that's progress, right? She's already almost eating double the amount of protein that she was before.
Yeah.
And then we just need to work on it. And she just needs to become a little bit more accomplished with consuming protein. And then we'll build it up as time goes. So that's something I'm really big on, is like, again, just knowing what the bigger picture is in terms of what is optimal, but then looking at the person who I'm in front of and being like, okay, what's most practical for this person? Because I don't want to intimidate someone with a super scary like nutrition plan that they're like, okay, I literally can't do this, Elliot. So I try to lean towards the foods that they enjoy. I ask them which foods that they would be open to based on my specifications of what I think is a good source of protein, a good source of carbohydrates, and a good source of fat. And they give me the guidance of like, yeah, I'm open to eating this, I'm open to eating this. And then I build them a plan based on that. And then I'll see how they got on with it. If it works perfectly, amazing. We keep it there and then we make tweaks and changes as we need to. If not, then we just need to see what's the challenge here. Is it the adherence that they just don't want to stick to it and there's certain issues behind that we need to dig into? Or is it genuinely that they're not really enjoying the food? Or for example, they've not been so used to so much fiber and protein that they're so full at the end of the meal and they're just like, I felt that whilst being on a nutrition plan, I would be not full, but they find themselves too full. It's like, okay, let's work out these problems together and just basically find a solution. So that's what I'm big on. I'm just big on making sure that their clients' meal plans are full of whole foods, natural foods. I like a 90-10, 80-20 principle. More a 90-10, especially if someone's coming to me and they're dedicated to get their result. More of a 90% of like whole foods, good foods that are going to fuel your body and make you feel good. And then 10% of a little bit of flexibility. That's pretty much the concept that I would pretty much go down with more or less anyone, I would say.
And protein shakes?
Protein shakes I have no issue with, in the sense that I feel that so many people find it difficult to get a decent amount of protein consumed.
Yeah.
So I would say that if they can consume it in the form of food, it's probably going to be better because it's not going to have any additives or sweeteners or anything like that. But the majority of people really struggle to consume their protein. So and I also look at it from an exchange perspective as well. I did an Instagram reel on this a while ago. I was like, there's certain things about the EMFs in using AirPods, for example,
Yes.
or the sweeteners in a Diet Coke or something like that. And I'm like, I get that these things are probably not the most optimal for us, but if you've been living a lifestyle where you've been drinking every single week, you've been ordering takeaways 5 times a week, you've not been conscious at all, is a little bit of sweeteners and stuff that big of a deal compared to all these improvements that you're making in your lifestyle? So for me, it's like, okay, could we be super, super optimal and not touch a single thing with sweeteners? Yeah, of course we could. But for me, the fact that they're improving their sleep, they're hydrating, they're eating good balanced meals every single day, more or less, they're exercising, they're stressing less, they are doing some type of stress management practice. That's way bigger than a few sweeteners that you're going to find in a protein shake. So I do recommend them quite a bit, especially for the guys who struggle to get their protein consumption in. What are your thoughts on protein bars?
Well, I take protein shakes.
Yeah.
I never used to. I was also very like, I just never liked the taste before. It was very like, ugh, chalky. And
They've gotten better over the
they
years,
have gotten
luckily.
better.
Yeah.
And I take a plant-based one, and it's interesting because now I take a very clean one,
Yeah.
and it works for me. It tastes good, and I'm sticking to that. But
Yeah.
I'm not. My husband's very big on protein. It's
Yes.
like protein, protein, protein. It's like life is protein, like for him. Whereas I am a bit more like, okay, I'll have my protein shake today. Maybe I'll skip it tomorrow, and I'll dive in and out of it. So protein shakes, yes, but I eat a lot of protein.
Yes.
My diet is 90% plant-based, and so I will eat a lot of protein and I eat a lot of fiber. So
Perfect,
my
yeah.
body is also used to eating a lot of protein, a lot of fiber, so I get a lot of it from my food. And also I do, a little bit of my idea is if I worked out today, then I'll make sure that I up my protein intake.
Yeah.
If I haven't worked out today, I don't necessarily see the point of upping my protein intake.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's wrong or right.
It depends on what your baseline level is. I think that there's nothing wrong with keeping it kind of consistent on a day-to-day basis. Your body still will value from that protein. And the beautiful thing is that the protein that's not needed is just going to be excreted anyway. So it's like, it's not the biggest deal from that perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there is going to be a greater need for protein, obviously, if you're working out and there's a breakdown of your muscles. But for my clients, I just keep it simple. I'm like, try and keep a similar daily amount and you should be absolutely fine.
Yeah. And as we age, we actually need to increase our protein intake. There's enough studies to back that up, especially women going through perimenopause and all of this, that we have to really increase our protein intake. So I do make a really conscious effort of getting in my protein on a daily basis.
I'm glad. Preach. I love it.
What do you think of supplements?
Supplements, I find, are just like the extra 1 or 2%. Like, I think that again, if I go back to the kind of that whole narrative I gave you of like all the improvements that you're making to your life, like supplements can be there to help you. And I think again, we want to be supplementing intelligently. We want to see like not just taking all the supplements off the shelf and just be like, okay, I need zinc, I need magnesium, I need vitamin this, I need vitamin
Knowing
that.
what works for you.
Exactly, right? And knowing what you're missing also, right? Like that's the whole point. Is if I've got my guys who are in the UK and they don't see sun for a good chunk of the year, especially in the winter time, then there's a good chance they probably have a vitamin D insufficiency. Maybe not a deficiency,
Yeah.
but probably an insufficiency. And again, I don't dive deep into my clients' blood work, but if they've had a recent blood test and they can share the results with me and I can see that there's a clear insufficiency in vitamin D, I'm like, okay, let's supplement with that. It would be a valuable one to go for. And then similar ones, and it also depends on their interest levels as well. They're like, yes, I want to optimize everything. It's like, okay, I would go for like kind of the foundationals. I like a fish oil, something like that. That's going to be helping the brain and helping with inflammation and all those good things. I would say like a kind of a comprehensive multivitamin, but maybe even like a complex of like greens or something like that, where we can get those nutrients in. And maybe creatine is just a very, very well studied supplement, very cheap and cheerful, and does a good job for the majority of people. Outside of that, like I don't see much need for much anymore. Magnesium potentially is a nice one, just due to how many functions are needed, and like how many functions require magnesium. And a lot of us, again, is one of those ones that people can be insufficient in. So that might be another one that I recommend. But outside of that, like I'm not so extensive with supplements unless someone wants to go down that route and they want to try things and they want to go into that. Like for example, I recently tried lion's mane just for a little bit more of a little bit more cognition and overall health as well. And it's just a little bit of experiment. It's like, okay, if this works on me, I recommended it to my father-in-law as well, and he's taking it now. He loves it. He's getting even more impact than I am from that. So, like it's all about experimenting with these things, but I think that they're just like the cherry on top of the cake, but they're certainly not the base layer of the cake by any means whatsoever. Yeah.
But did you feel a difference with lion's mane?
Personally, I didn't. I haven't done it.
Yeah?
Not quite yet, no. But also with supplements, what I found, and I've said this to my clients as well, is that like I appreciate that even if I can't feel it, I know the benefits are happening inside of my body. So at the end of the day, like it would be amazing if I got this like hyper zoned in there's impact off the back of drinking or taking it as a supplement. But if it doesn't, then those ingredients are going into my system. So there must be something that they're doing well. So I always tell people like don't have large expectations of what the return on investment in terms of how you feel will be. But if you get them, amazing, a bit of a bonus. But just know that they're doing what they need to do internally.
Yeah, exactly. You should try another one. It's called cordyceps.
Cordyceps, yeah, I've heard
So
of them.
that
Yeah.
one is really good for especially endurance. So
Very
if you're
nice.
going to the gym, if you're going to run a marathon, if you know you're going to need a little bit more air in the lungs, so it helps open up the lungs a little bit more, just pump in a
Beautiful.
bit more oxygen into the bloods. So I take cordyceps and I take lion's mane on a daily basis.
Do you find the impact from lion's mane?
I think now my body's so used to it that maybe I
Yes.
don't see the impact, but I see the impact on my kids. When I give them lion's mane,
Interesting.
they go to school, or I give them cordyceps. So I'll give them cordyceps if I know that they're going to run a marathon, if they're going to do like a really extensive workout, if they've got a
Amazing.
tournament. And I'll give them lion's mane if I know they've got an examination and they need to focus.
I love it. That's
And they
very
come back
smart.
telling me, Mommy, give me more mushrooms. That was amazing. It worked. So I do see some of the benefits on other people. But cordyceps, I take it also on a daily basis. Try that one. It really works. Amazing.
I will.
Tell me a transformative story of somebody, one of your clients.
Oh, I can go as close as one of your neighbors, in fact,
Okay.
right? So I've worked with a client called Parrot, who you know, and I started working with him, if I'm not mistaken, it was back in 2021. So we started a journey together. And at that time, I had a team of coaches. So we worked with one of my other coaches. And then eventually, the coach and I, we parted ways. And then I started working with Parrot directly. And I don't know if you met him
Of course.
years and years. Yeah,
Of
you met
course
him
I
years
have.
and yeah, you know him years and years ago. And we got started on the journey where he was well over 100 kilos, like very not in line with the health and fitness journey by any means whatsoever. And he was just ready. Like he'd had multiple attempts in the past at getting healthy, but nothing quite have seemed to stick. And we just went at it, like as I would with any typical client. And we just kept finding like each week the weight was coming down. Each week he was continuing to improve. And all of a sudden, X amount of months later, he's 55 kilos down. He's in the shape of his life. He's looking phenomenal. And what I loved about it is I met him in Dubai in 2022 after his full transformation, more or less. We'd worked with each other for 16 to 18 months at that stage. And I was like, this guy's living and breathing the lifestyle. It's like it's so impressive. Like, yeah, I was like, even he looked healthier than I did on that day. And I was like, this is what you want, right? So your students are more impressive than the teacher. So I was like amazed. I was like, this is incredible what he's been able to achieve. And like to go from the lifestyle he lived into the way that he looked in the past compared to where he stands at that moment. And we've obviously gone and done round two, which I'll tell you about in a little bit in a minute. It's been phenomenal. And what I love the most is like obviously the weight is the impressive part,
Yeah.
but for me it's the fact that like he shows up and he lives the lifestyle. He's a healthy person and he's a really beautiful example of health in my opinion as well. So like I give him a lot of credit in that
Oh,
sense. Like I think that he's done an incredible job. And right now we're working towards getting him in a photo shoot shape. He's now got abs. Imagine that, like a guy who's
amazing.
55 to 60 kilos overweight now has a six pack. Like it's kind of insane to think that those transformations are even possible. For me, it's one of the most impressive results I've been a part of in my entire career. I'll be very honest in saying that. And I think it's just magic to see what people can do when you just, yeah, you give them the opportunity and they see it working and then they get bitten by the bug, they embrace the lifestyle, and now like there's no limits with his health, and I find that incredibly impressive. And it's not just a sense of saying, okay, yeah, he dropped some weight, but it doesn't seem anything like it's sustainable. Like we went through that round one before. He's been holding like this for now almost like 4-ish years, and there's
Yeah.
no chance of that changing. Like I don't see any chance of that changing. So that's one of many impressive stories, but it's one that's just super, super top of mind for me because of knowing where he started and where he
Yeah.
like I saw him yesterday and I was like, dude, he looks so lean. Obviously I see his photos
Yeah.
every week, but when you see someone in person, you're like, wow, like because of even when I met him in the past before, I was like, yeah, he's definitely much more in shape. But I was like, whoa, like this guy's in incredible shape. And that's what I love with the people that I work. They're just everyday normal people. These are not athletes. These are not people
Yeah.
who have interest or they do now, but they didn't have any interest in health and fitness or any really experience. Maybe they played sports a little bit in school or whatever it might have been. But I love taking the typical normal person who had no idea about health and fitness to a place where it's now a lifestyle that they lead and a lifestyle that they ultimately enjoy as well. Like I think that he doesn't do this just because he wants his body to look in a certain way. He wants to feel his best. He wants to look his best. He wants to inspire those around him with the example. He wants to inspire his kids as well. Like,
Mm.
and I think that that's the thing for me. It's like he's happy with the lifestyle he's living more so that the results are kind of like a byproduct of the life he wants to live now. So it's pretty incredible. So that's one of many. Yeah.
I love that. Exactly. It's the results are actually a byproduct because the happiness and the joy that he's
Yeah.
probably receiving and just being so satisfied with where he is,
Yeah.
right? And it's so true. It's amazing. So how long does somebody have to be on the program for? Like how does it work with you?
So for myself, I ask people for a minimum of 3 months because if I genuinely don't believe I'm going to get them any long-lasting results in much shorter of a time. If anything, 3 months is scratching the surface. Like in my mind, I'm going back and forth with saying, is 3 months even like maybe 6 months is better because
Mm.
then I'm also setting the intention with someone that like this isn't just a quick fix. I don't want them to think, yeah, I can commit to this for 12 weeks, but then afterwards it's all going to go to wherever.
Yeah.
So 3 months is the minimum. I think that most people's journeys is honestly like an average of about 6 months onwards, realistically, because for me, it's not just about getting them the result, it's ensuring that they can sustain it as well. Like, I don't think coaching needs to be forever. I always say to people, I'm like, I'd prefer you to get your result, learn to maintain it, leave happy, refer three of your friends, and then
Mm.
that's how the cycle continues. I don't want to keep you any longer than you need to be with me. I actually don't enjoy it per se when people have to stay longer because of they've extended a journey that should have been done a lot longer based on X, Y, or Z reason, right? Like I prefer to have them for a focused period of time, show them the way. And I think 6 months is good because of at 3 months, I think is cutting it a little bit short. I don't think
Mm.
you can build lifelong habits in 3 months, but it depends. Like a lot can change afterwards. I think if someone's given 6 months to their health and fitness and their wellness, I think that then they're in a position where these can start to be really long-term habits as well. So the minimum is 3 months, but I have people staying with me. Again, I don't want to keep anyone for longer than they need to. I keep them for as long as they until they achieve their result, show them how to sustain it, leave them in a healthy and sustainable position, and then hopefully that they can live on with that style of life for decades to come. That's the big goal.
Do you have anyone who falls off the wagon and comes back?
People do. It
Okay.
is it can be a little bit of a revolving door,
Yeah.
but I say to people like, don't be ashamed of it. Like a lot of people are like, I didn't want to message you because I felt kind of ashamed of the fact that we did so well. I'm like, it's life. Like that's part of the journey.
Mm.
It's like all of us go through this, and the beautiful thing is that you didn't give up on yourself. You do want to recommit to this, and you
Yeah.
didn't try anything extreme. You came back and you opened yourself up, and yeah, it happens from time to time. And I just tell people it's like better for you to come back and just give this another shot than to like continue to worry and like, oh, like the worst thing that like I don't love to hear from people is like, I've done it once before and therefore I don't need any help to do it again. I think that's
Mm.
probably one of the most like what's the kind word? That's a kind way to put this. It's just not it's not logical. It's like, okay, you may have done it once before, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have everything in you to do it again because life changes, right? Like you might have been in a circumstance. For example, I had so many people had a lot of success during the COVID period because of
Mm.
they were heavily social, they were commuting to work every day. That was really troublesome for them to get in shape. All of a sudden, they had no social life and they didn't have to commute to work. So it was all of a sudden
Yeah.
easy. And then they would go out into the real world again and struggle with that because they're new situations. And then those same people are like, ah, no, I've done this before. I was like, your circumstances were so
So
different.
different then,
You
yeah.
know, like don't expect yourself to have such an easy ride. And if anything, I think that someone's round two of a journey can many times be harder than round one because of you just throw yourself into round one. You don't really know what to expect. And you just kind of take it as it comes. But when you know what's coming, it's almost a little bit harder to get yourself like, oh, now I have to bring the strength to, because I know how hard this was during the process of making these changes and developing these habits and routines. So I think that if anything, people need more support the second time round than obviously they need support the first time round. But I think that we underestimate the fact that it's not as easy just jump back onto it and just do it. Some people are able to. They just need to
Yeah.
flick that switch. If that's you, amazing. But if you've been struggling it for X amount of months or years, then that's kind of telling you something, right?
Yeah. What about a workout program? What kind of workout program do you give people? Is it like go to the gym, lift X amount of weights, do X amount of cardio in a week, or like, or do you actually like sit and write, like give them a specific workout program that works specifically for that person?
Yeah, I write specific programs that work specifically for them, and it doesn't necessarily need to be in the gym. It can be at home if they want to.
Okay.
It can be body weight if they want to. The beautiful thing is that COVID opened up my eyes in that sense to how much we can achieve at home. Like before that, I would have been like, ah, yeah, go to the gym. It's probably going to be more optimal. But afterwards, I was like, okay, these home workouts
Yeah.
are more effective than I thought they were. And so I was like, okay, this is perfect. I've got a very easy ability for people to get their workouts in. Let's capitalize on this. Let's utilize this. Again, if someone's much more likely to show up in their living room with their dumbbells 5 times a week or 3 times a week, whatever they want to train, versus occasionally getting to the gym but resisting it, not feeling that great about it, even if it's a suboptimal workout at home, I prefer that than an optimal workout that only happens once in a blue moon,
Yeah,
right?
true.
So I prefer their consistency and I prefer them to, again, enjoy the process. Again, it's not going to be a lifestyle if you're like really battling with yourself to get to the gym all the time. So I asked them, okay, what equipment do you have? Are you open to going to the gym? If you are, amazing. We can build a plan around that. I'm big on putting strength training in place, just as we said in terms of protein being important. Strength training is incredibly important,
Yes.
especially as we get older as well. Again, people think, it's the key. It's like it's all about having the muscles and everything like that. It's like, yeah, it's a nice part, but it's also how you're going to stand up from your chair when you get into your 60s. Is how you're going to lift the shopping in the house, and it's also how you're going to be resilient if you have a fall, right? So it's so much more than just having like some nice arms or nice shoulders or whatever it is. So that's what I try to let people know as well, is that. And also you're most people don't want to just be a small version of themselves. They want shape, right? So I'm
Mm.
like, that's where the muscle comes into it. Like that's where the training's gonna come. So I'm really big on having like a good ratio of strength training, recommendation of cardio. I'm a little bit more flexible with cardio. Like I don't mind if someone says I love Zumba, I'm like, go do Zumba. Like have a
Mm.
good time. Like just move your body. And the strength training I'm a little bit more specific around. And then I'll give guys guidance on steps as well, because I think it's just a nice low
Yeah.
impact form of activity that seems to keep everyone very, very healthy, and it's very easy to do so. And that's pretty much what I do when it comes to the training and activity side of things.
It's very difficult to get a lot of steps in Nairobi. In
Yes,
England, it's very easy. You just walk around, walk around, walk around. You're like, 10,000,
it
20,000.
is.
Here, you literally have to make an
Conscious
effort
effort.
to get steps in. It's not easy to get steps in over
No.
here. But yeah, no, I like that. I do believe also in strength training. I think that strength training is super important. I do
Mhm.
believe that cardio is important, but again, it depends on the type of cardio you
Of course.
enjoy, because obviously the cardio is, you're still building a muscle, you're building your heart, and
Yes, very true.
that's also a
Good
very
point.
important muscle to build. But you need muscle around the body also, in
Yeah.
order to sit, in order to stand, in order to do all the things that you need
Yeah.
to do. This is amazing. I think that your program is so, like, it's so informative. It seems like it's something that can really benefit anybody and everybody. What are the age, like what kind of age group do you take on?
Yeah, so I'd say the majority of my clients sit within the category of being between 30s and 50s. I have got a few clients who are over 50, a few clients that are below 30, but generally they all kind of sit within that range at that point in their life where they've noticed that maybe their metabolism has started to
Mm,
slow down. They can't get away with the same things that they used to when they were younger, or they're reaching that stage in their life where it's like, okay, I'm crossing into a new decade, and I know if I don't get my health in place now, it's going to be much harder for
yeah.
this next decade. So I find them in that range where they're starting to kind of grow out of the socializing aspect a little bit more. Maybe they've just had kids or they're getting married. It's kind of in that transitionary stage of life that we all go through when we're like, okay, I think health is pretty important and it's going to be super important. I love that this generation, I would say millennials and younger, are getting a lot more aware about their health. So I will have some people who are in their 60s who start working with me, but they're only starting kind of now because the awareness wasn't there for the boomers quite as much as there's the millennials and Gen Z, for example. They seem to be a lot more health conscious. So I feel like I'm catching the millennials as they're kind of transitioning into that stage. They're seeing the example of maybe their parents and grandparents, and they're like, "That's not what I want for me. That's not what I
Mm.
want for my kids. I'm going to be their parents. I want to be around for a long time." So it generally is around that zone, based on the fact that they're going through those changes in life.
Is there anything that we haven't spoken about today that you think would be really, really important to address?
We spoke about sleep. We spoke about stress. I think that maybe the last thing I'll speak on in this sense is I think a lot of people are always looking for like the next best thing
Mm.
or the extremes
The quick
or
fix.
exactly the quick fix.
Ozempic.
Ozempic, yeah, exactly. For example, I was actually having a conversation on the way here about that as well. And I think that a lot of the time it is that temptation to go down the route of the quote unquote easy quick fix. But from my experience in like these 12 years I've worked in the industry, like they just don't, the quick fixes don't exist, or at least they work, but they only work for a very short period of time. You eventually, I feel like you can't hide behind, like you can keep doing them and keep doing them, keep doing them, but the reason you continue to do them is because you're not actually looking at the thing that you should be doing, which is a long-term solution, something that's sustainable, something that's actually going to allow you to live a lifestyle. And again, you don't have to be like someone like myself or yourself or Pre that we spoke about earlier, where you're super invested in your health, you love it, and you live and breathe there, but you just need to find a way that's going to be sustainable for you to exercise and eat well for the rest of your life. So I think that's the thing that I would say as well, is like if you're looking towards like more extreme things or things that seem quite temporary, then it might work initially, but it's not going to work forever. And how long do you want your results for? Do you want them for a few weeks or do you want them for the rest of your life? And I think that it might be the harder route initially, but it's going to pay off. And a quick thing that I want to say actually is this is a good way to think about it. It's like when you start, it's actually you actually get less than you're sacrificing, right? Like
Mm.
you don't actually get that. Like in the early stages, you might get a few results, but you're giving up a lot. You're giving up maybe a social life that you really enjoyed, or aspects of your social life that you used to enjoy, all these foods that you loved, the ability to go to sleep whenever you want, etc., right? And these things could be really enjoyable. You might
Yeah.
really love these things, and you're actually not getting that much of your results. And that's a really hard period for people to be in. But I always tell people the ratio changes. Eventually, you find you have to sacrifice less and you get so much more results.
Yeah.
And that's what you just need to work through that phase. And the initial part might be a little bit difficult, but once you get a good routine, good nutrition, good training, and everything like that, and you start to see the results as well, you'll be like, ah, these are minute compared to all the returns that I'm getting. But in that early stages, it actually does feel like you're giving up more than you're getting. So if you can grind through that stage a little bit and just be like, trust that it's going to be brighter
Mm.
on the other side of that, you'll win. You'll win long term.
I mean, anything you put yourself into, anything new, is going to take you out of your comfort zone. It's going to be difficult, right?
Yes.
So you have to just ride the wave,
Hmm.
and just wait for the benefits, because honestly, the benefits are just amazing. The sleeping, the eating right, the exercising, the looking good, the feeling
Yes,
good. I mean,
exactly.
it's a full package.
It is such a
It's,
full package.
waking up with energy again, just, excited to start the day, excited to just spend time with your kids, and do everything that you can do in your life, right? And
Yeah.
just really enjoy your life, right?
100%. A lot of the time I used to get a question like, how do you continue to look after your fitness and nutrition? I was just like, I don't like how I feel when I don't. You
Exactly.
know, like it's more than enough
Yeah.
motivation. Like I don't want to wake up feeling like rough and lethargic and not great, or feeling a lack of confidence when I take off my shirt or whatever that might be at the beach or the pool. Like
Mm.
I feel better doing this. Like, so it's kind of not really anything that's comparable anymore. It's easy to make those choices because I know what they lead to, and it's easy not to make certain other choices because I also know what they lead to. So I think that once you get a taste of that, it's almost hard to start doing those things because if you know the subsequential impact of both choices, and you're like, okay, I'm definitely going to choose this one, right? It kind of
Exactly.
becomes quite obvious and easy to make that choice eventually. But it's hard in the initial stages. But like you said, you just got to ride the wave, get through, see the results, and then it becomes much easier to maintain that momentum.
Yeah, no, I agree. Anything you'd like to ask me?
I would like to ask you a little bit more about your cancer treatment journey.
Okay, so I dove a little bit briefly into it
Yeah.
with you earlier, but I did a lot. So, and I still do a lot of it. So in fact, I did a whole episode on
Okay.
my podcast where I share about my cancer journey and about all the things that they do. Currently, I take a lot of supplements still, but
Yeah.
again, now I've like kind of take them sporadically, like whenever I need it, and as and when I monitor my hormones, I
Mhm.
monitor a lot of stuff in that's happening in my body. I take a high dose of vitamin C. I take it as an IV. I've reduced
Oh
the.
wow.
I
Okay.
used to take it weekly, then I used to take it bi-weekly, and now I take it monthly. I still take like a high dose of vitamin C on a daily basis orally, but then like once in a month I take it in an IV form. I take something called methylene blue, which
I've
is
heard of it. Yeah. I think it
yeah,
turns your tongue blue as well if you
yeah, I
take it.
had it
Yeah.
this morning also, and I was like, oops, I better go brush my teeth again. This podcast was created to inspire and connect with people. If you are liking the content of this podcast, hit the subscribe button, like, follow, and share this platform. Lots of love. So I take a lot of stuff. I do a lot of stuff. I mean, the meditation, the going to Dr. Joe's retreat, mindfulness, breath work, and also just being connected to nature. Grounding is like, for me, key. It's like
Mm.
wake up in the morning, spend time in nature, just be around. And we're so blessed here in Nairobi. We're so blessed in Kenya. We
Yeah.
have the
Some
most
beautiful
beautiful
surroundings.
weather,
Yeah.
greenery, surroundings. We have no excuse. Really, I keep telling people, I'm like, you have no excuse. Just go outside, hug a tree. No one cares, Place your feet, foot into the ground and just connect to Mother Nature because, she heals from so many things. And honestly, she can heal you because think about the amount of pesticides are sprayed on the plants. How much abuse is being done to Mother Nature, but she still recycles.
Yeah.
She still heals. She comes back around, right? And that's the same thing for us. She can do the same thing for us. So I do believe a lot of my healing is thanks to just coming back to me, coming back to
That's
the
impressive.
purpose
Yeah.
in life. Yeah.
I've got one more question as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have some young children, and health seems to be a bit of a sensitive topic around like how do you not kind of like traumatize your children into being too focused on nutrition or too focused on exercising? How do you bring up your children with a consciousness for health,
Yeah.
but also still allow them to be children and not worry about those things at the same time? It's
It's
something that's going to be a
it's a
challenge for me and my
yeah.
wife in some years.
No, honestly, it's a really good question. It's a really, really good question. And I'm actually glad you asked me this question because they're my kids, but at home, I control the environment. So it's like, this is my domain. I control the environment at home. So
Mm,
at home, we eat a very healthy meal. We hardly have any sugar. There might be a few chocolates and sweets in the fridge, but my kids are so good. They're not addicted to sugar. It's really highly addictive. The
yeah.
only reason why kids run to sugar is because they're so addicted to sugar, so they
Mm,
need more and more of it. My kids, luckily, don't have that palate. They don't have that taste for sugar. So if they want a chocolate or something, they'll actually come and ask me, Mommy, can we have a piece of chocolate today? And I'll be like, yeah, sure. Okay, cool. You can go and have a piece of
yeah.
chocolate. And they'll never eat more than a piece. Like they'll hardly ever. Even if they go for a birthday party or whatever, they'll go and, the piñata and all the sweets will fall off. Literally, we were at a birthday party just this weekend. My daughter comes and she gives me all of these sweets. And she's like, I got all of this but I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And then she comes home and she literally distributed all of them. She kept one lollipop for herself and she still hasn't eaten it.
Oh
It's
wow.
still in the fridge. And I just think that, you are a reflection of what your kids are going to be. Kids
Yeah.
are always a reflection of their parents. So you will never have to actually worry about what they're going to eat or what they're going to do. And if you can control the home environment, I say that if they go out and they have a good time and they have a pizza or, they have something, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
not the end of the world. Again, it's not what you do what you do once in a while that matters. It's what you do every day that
Yes,
counts.
of course.
So I think I just give that to my kids. I've never told them, no, you can't do this, or no, you can't have that, or whatever. We sit with it. We talk about it. Like there was a day my daughter ate a whole bag of sweet popcorn and she came home and she threw up. And since that day, she's like, I will never eat this again. And she's like, but the taste is so good. So she'll have like one or two from her brother's one. And then after that, she'll be like, no ways, I can't. I can never forget that day how sick I got in it. And my daughter is one of those who you can put a bag of sweets and you can put a bowl of broccoli. She'll eat the broccoli.
Oh, wow.
So I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
But I think that kids are a reflection of
Yeah,
their
but like you
parents.
said, I think you have to create that luck as well. Like
Yeah.
she wouldn't have done that if she wasn't brought up in an environment where she didn't have that as an example, right?
Yeah.
So I think that makes an enormous difference. So
And my daughter is vegan. She was born vegan.
oh, wow.
Because she was severely allergic to dairy and eggs. And so she's never had it. She's only recently started having eggs now. But she was literally completely vegan and lived off vegetables. And this is the other thing, that there's a huge misconception of, oh, but where did she get her calcium from? I'm like, no, she got her calcium from the vegetables. They're green in color, but they still have calcium in them. It doesn't mean if it's white, it has calcium in it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think that you've hit the nail on the head there. And I think that a lot of my clients often say to me, like, how can I get my kids to be more healthy? I'm like, you only started this journey a few weeks ago. Like, maybe start being the example a little bit more for them and they'll come along for the ride,
Yeah.
even if they're in their teenage years as well. Like, I've seen families become super, super healthy just off the back of the parents starting to do it. It's like, the parents started having overnight oats and the kid one day wanted to try. It's like, I like these actually.
Yeah.
And then that's where it starts. So I'm like, don't expect your children to turn around and start being completely healthy when you haven't been for the majority of your life. So I'm just like, start to live the example, lead in that way, and eventually they'll probably come along for the ride. Don't force it either. Don't force them to do anything. Just allow them to see what you're getting from it. And I find that many times that the whole family becomes healthier off the back of the parents becoming healthier.
And my kids eat what we eat. So it's not like they get a different meal.
Yeah.
We all eat the same food. So when you said about overnight oats, I make overnight oats and they all have that for breakfast.
Yeah.
And it's like they don't have, like, it's not like they don't have a choice, but they know they don't have a choice in the sense that, like, well, this is my breakfast. I got to eat it. And our gut, our microbiome, are these little and they're literally like living beings. They're living in your gut microbiome. They're the ones who are telling your brain and they're telling your taste buds what you should be eating and what you're craving. Now, if you have more of the bad gut microbiomes that are going to be craving the sugar and all of this, then you're automatically going to be craving that. But if you've built the foundation of having a good gut microbiome, you're actually going to crave broccoli.
Exactly.
So
100%. I found the same myself as well, is that you crave more of the foods that you consume. So, and that's also why I encourage a lot of clients to, again, like try and stay as committed as possible, because you'll find that it's much easier to stay on track if you're not trying to allow these indulgences in all the time, because of your body's going to continue to crave the foods that you give it. So if you give it better food, it's going to want better food. So I think that sums it up beautifully.
Yeah, amazing. Where can people find you?
I'm super active on Instagram. Well, most of the time I'm super active on Instagram, so it's probably the best place. I post like general videos about like helping people get in shape, like very like simple and effective. I'm really big on like, not, again, you mentioned earlier, like there's secrets of the trade, but I don't like to hide things so much, because I'm like, if someone takes away that information and genuinely actions it, you're fine by me. And you also don't need me either, right? Like, you don't need a coach if you're doing so. So I'm really transparent about that. So I put a lot of videos, put a lot of Instagram stories. I highlight my clients' results as well, so people can find me there. I have a podcast as well. It's not so active at the moment, but I'm bringing it back soon. It's called the Simply Fit Podcast.
Okay.
And the ultimate goal of that was to cut through the noise and just give simple and actionable health and fitness advice that people can apply to their journey. So those are the best two places to find me.
Okay. And I'll add that to the show notes so that people can click on it and they can find you.
And you're probably going to find me in Nairobi soon if you're listening from here as well.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. I'm majority of the people do listen from Nairobi, so it's going to be really impactful for them. But I'm so glad that we managed to do this.
Yes, I am as well.
And the universe brought you into alignment into my life. So
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, good luck with everything.
Thank you. I appreciate it.